Pekný podvečer, vážení priatelia.
Good evening, dear friends. Once again, I'm sitting on a plane, this time bound for Brussels. Some might envy me, but believe me, there is nothing to envy. European Council President Antonio Costa has called an extraordinary European Council meeting to calm the panic of some member states, but at the same time, without us making any decisions or even knowing when we will finish. Simply a very expensive dinner in Brussels. If I take into account the costs of the government's special flight and the lack of preparation, I would have 100 reasons to refuse such an international improvisation. But if I didn't go to Brussels, all the opposition experts in Slovakia would go crazy. That I ignore Brussels? Yes, in general, it is true that we should not ignore Brussels. But we should also not be victims of the European Union's incompetent leadership. Smiled when I read Dag Danis's commentary on Markiza, Slovak media company. I quote, that the time has come to replace the leadership of the European Union and that Slovakia could name the problem out loud. I understand that the media find it hard to admit that Smr or I am right. Still, Dag Danis, as one of the few reputable commentators, must know that I openly protested against the nomination of former Estonian Prime Minister Kaja Kallas as the so-called European Foreign Minister, and that recently, at the beginning of January this year, I publicly asked for her replacement. I also appreciate the vote of the MEPs from Smr Slovak Social Democracy, who repeatedly, if I am not mistaken, voted for the fourth time in the European Parliament to remove the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen. Dear friends, I am for the European Union. I appreciate the positive impact that Slovakia's membership in the European Union has had on our development so far. But that cannot mean I will slow down for Brussels, as we see in the current anti-Slovak, purely Brussels-driven opposition. We cannot have, in the leadership of the European Union, people whom the key global players do not meet with and do not seek to engage constructively. If the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio repeatedly refuses to meet with Kaja Kallas, not even to argue with her constructively, then what purpose does her service serve? From the deep crisis in which the EU finds itself, we can only emerge with new leadership and new ideas. Three things have humiliated us. We cannot compete with China or the global south because of excessive climate targets. We cannot manage illegal migration, where the U.S. President Donald Trump should be a role model with his uncompromising stance towards illegal migrants. And we have no courage to state our own opinion on fundamental foreign policy questions. On none of these critical issues does the current leadership of the European Union offer any answer. Therefore, they should be replaced. This is not a complicated or personal remark, it is a political reality. Dear friends, the only thing that drives the Union is hatred of the Russian Federation. From the position of Slovakia, which is neither large nor strong, I will fight for a strong European Union. One that will be both strong and just. A union that will be capable of stating its opinion sovereignly, as we do in Slovakia. So, dear friends, the European Union is exactly like a massage parlor. If it is not working, it is not enough to change the beds, you need to change the staff. I believe we will not sit here again until morning to mitigate the catastrophic impact of today's unplanned and unprepared summit on my program. Together with the Minister of Finance, Mr. Kamenicki, I have arranged a meeting in Paris tomorrow at the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development in Europe, so that we can begin a serious discussion with international experts on growth-supporting decisions for Slovakia. This will probably be the biggest disappointment for the opposition's children, who believe that in 2026, we will again tidy up public finances for them. At the beginning of this government term, I told the anti-Slovak opposition and the media, seeing the catastrophic state of public finances they left us, that if we go to hell, we go on a big white horse. So friends, it is an election year, and I, along with my colleagues and friends in Smr Slovak Social Democracy, believe in the white horse. I am curious whether coalition friends from LAS and the Slovak National Party will also jump on, or whether they will continue to ride the slow donkey that these parties are safely leading into deep opposition, perhaps oblivion.
25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that look, you will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest news makers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the US will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry ghats.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HD videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.
पच्चीस करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that look, you will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest news makers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the US will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry ghats.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HD videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.